Good afternoon for those of you out there. Thanks for joining us. I'm here again with Sally.
Hello, hi.
Who's going to help me present another talk on the Learning Love work. And I thought today, we've got a bit of a free flow really, but I thought we're going to start with looking at what it means to love oneself. What's that about, and why is that an important part in us finding love with another, if that's what we're looking for in life.
Sounds great. I'm just going to take a moment to share the video.
Sure.
And we have asked if anybody wants to ask questions. That if you want to ask a question for Adrian, hi, good afternoon, Margaret. If you do want to ask a question for Adrian to answer in the live stream, then just pop it in the comments and we'd be delighted to have some interaction with you all. That would be wonderful.
For sure.
Yeah, and do feel free to just come in and say hello so we can acknowledge you and welcome you into the live stream.
So you're more than welcome to ask about anything I'm talking about here, or another thing you might want to ask about is what's alive for you at the moment. So if you have something that's triggering you at the moment, that's a struggle for you, or you have a feeling inside that's uncomfortable and you would like to explore it, I'm very open to hearing from you and seeing what that's about and where you can go with it. So while Sally's doing that, I may as well start talking about in the Learning Love work. It's learning how to love oneself and learning how to love others. So how do we find intimacy in life? And this isn't just with our partners, this is with everyone we come into contact with, or everyone that we want to be close with. So the people we work alongside, our family members, people we live with. And so it changes, this work of learning how to love oneself dramatically changes the experience of connection with other people. But the work does begin with oneself. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about that. That I think some people feel that the idea of loving oneself is a bit of an airy-fairy, new age, not solid concept. But for me, my experience of it over the years of working with Krishnananda and Amana, who taught me this work and have guided me through it for many years, is that it's actually a very practical way of going about life. It's a set of practices that I practice daily or many times a day. I come inside and work with this. And the reason is that if I can learn to love myself, which it's the practice of seeing, hearing, accepting, making space for, and being curious about the wounded parts of me that are still carrying emotion that I couldn't feel when I was a child, for the most part. It can be to do with trauma experienced as an adult. But for a large part, we are programmed to relate to other people from what's happened to us as children. Now, if I can meet those places, and I practice on a practical level, I practice meeting those places, making time to sit with the emotions that are involved, the thoughts that come with those emotions, how it feels in my body, becoming familiar with that, with how those things work for me personally. This is loving oneself, because it's not like falling in love like you do with somebody else. It's a getting to know yourself. It's getting to know all of yourself, not just the bits that look good in the mirror or the talents that you're really good at. It's getting to know what the motivation behind looking good is, getting to know what the motivation for being good at one thing or another is, or the motivation for hiding away, or the motivation for pleasing other people before yourself. All of these things we find in our habitual life, the motivations behind them is often emotional. So spending time allowing those feelings to come through and accepting them and welcoming them in is my understanding of loving myself, because then I get to know who I am. And the reason for this is, or one of the reasons for this is that if I'm not able to love myself, then I will sabotage and block a loving or an intimate connection with anybody else around me. Have you got anything to put in there, Sally?
I wasn't fully listening. That's okay. I was just typing away. But I think self-love is a difficult one, isn't it? Because I think we're brought up so much to believe that self-love, as I did hear you say, is not about, it can be perceived as the vanity or the arrogance. But when we get into the understanding of what self-love really is, that's when we can begin to accept ourselves maybe even first before loving, because sometimes it's hard to go from really not liking ourselves, or the self-hatred, or the self, as you said, the self-sabotage. How do you help people get from that place of maybe not liking themselves and being in these patterns to coming to self-love?
Well, as I said earlier, it is a set of practices. So the practice is, and often we start with this when you're triggered. So when you're triggered and you've got a strong emotional reaction to a small thing that happens today, this is a good opportunity to go, okay, this is old stuff, and now I'm going to sit with it. And you can sit with it literally. You can take a pillow, put it on your lap and say, okay, this part of me is disturbed, and I'm going to be curious. You're disturbed, I'm curious. What is the matter? What do you feel? Where do I feel it in the body? Where does it come? Is it in my throat? Is it in my belly? Is it in my balls? Is it in my legs? Do I feel anything? I might have left my body by this point. I might have disassociated or gone into shock. And then exploring that, starting with curiosity, helps us get past the judgment. Yeah. Because most of the feelings that we've pushed into the shadows are feelings that were not welcome for us to express when we were little, or we had bad experience when we expressed them when we were little, so we learnt not to. So in the same way as our teachers and our caregivers showed us to put those feelings out of the way, we now do it for ourselves. So we push them into the background, but they have power over us there.
They do.
And they sabotage our relationships, and they hold us back from doing the careers we want to do. They hold us back from living fully. So by bringing them in and trying to catch the judgment, and the judgment might be something like, I can't feel fear. I mustn't feel fear because I'm a man, and I have to hold it together for my children and my wife. Needs me to hold. They mustn't see me cry. That would be a judgment. But this is work I can do on my own. It doesn't need to be around my family. I can sit and go, okay, I'm going to push the judgments to one side, and I'm curious, what is that fear? Or what's the anger? There's some anger here. Well, I definitely wasn't allowed to be angry, so there's a lot of judgment for me that I mustn't be angry, which I've had to sit with again and again and again, until now I see that it's a very healthy energy for me to connect with in this way.
And I think it takes quite a bit of self-awareness and courage to start looking within and meeting yourself, but also not necessarily worrying about other people's judgment of you, because that's a huge thing for a lot of people these days, especially in the age of Instagram and social media, where image and how you look and how you present yourself is really important. You're taking everything back inside and saying start there.
Comparison is a
That's
dreadful
a
thing. It's so damaging, and nowadays, particularly as you say, with social media, comparison is a massive detriment to many people, because it's simply not helpful. To compare. We tend to compare if we grew up with comparison.
Or having to be the best, or the...
Well, you look at our school systems and the competitiveness of first world and the lack of acceptance of different people. So comparison's a very big thing. Fashion and advertising on television, the whole
Totally. So these personal conversations allow you to meet yourself, like you were saying, with curiosity.
And as you said, it can take a certain amount of braveness or guts to go there. The other thing that drives people to do the work often is suffering. They come to a point where they are no longer happy to carry on with the habitual patterns they've got running in their lives because it's too uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah.
And that becomes the wood for the fire. That becomes the fuel that brings them to a retreat or to sessions or to read, to learn how to start to shift the programming, the backed up emotion, so that they're free to move forwards and to reconnect.
And the self-love isn't just about intimacy or relationships, it's how you move through everyday life and how you interact maybe at work or with your pets
and
or on the street.
How to enjoy even the quietest little things or jobs that I used to see as jobs and chores are no longer jobs and chores. They are, if I can't meet an action with at the very minimum acceptance and usually at least enjoyment, some enjoyment, then it's time to delegate that to somebody else.
Yes.
But many things that I used to think of as, that has to be done, I can enjoy doing them because I can enjoy being with myself while I do them.
That's lovely to hear. Can you come and do stuff at our place for us?
Love to.
I just want to say hello to Kim. Good morning. Hi Kim, lovely to see you here. You can see there's a few of you that have joined us. Do come in and say hello to us so we can say hello back. And if you have any questions for Adrian, this is like a free flow open session, so it would be lovely to be able to open
if anybody's got anything alive for them at the moment, something that's troubling you in your day-to-day life now or in your background or something you want to take a look at, then feel free.
And good morning, Claire, over in Northern Ireland as well. Thanks for joining us. So I wrote up, because we were free flow and we've both been busy this morning, I wrote up a few questions that I thought I could just throw at you.
Great. Yeah, wonderful.
Trust is a big thing in this age, isn't it? And how does learning love help with trust?
Well, there's a misconception for many people that trust is something you trust another person. Or another group of people. Now, as adults, so long as we look for trust in other people, we're doomed to be disappointed. Because when we trust another person, we have expectations. Certainly until we really explore and know who we are and what motivates us, and then maybe we have a feeling for what our expectations are and we can see them coming. But otherwise we unconsciously expect certain things of somebody, and when the relationship, whether it be a romantic relationship or a work relationship, or you move in and you're flatmates, to begin with, people tend to be, they put the brochure on and they do the washing up and keep it together. But sooner or later, the person will not meet your expectations. They will act in a way that's outside of what you wanted. And if your trust is about them, then the trust goes. And you feel this disappointment or abandonment or fury or anger. By working with oneself and becoming to know oneself, part of that, as I said earlier, is making space to feel, to hear, to see, to experience and to accept these deep feelings that we all carry. And when I'm doing that, I'm not abandoning myself. I'm staying present, even though often it's uncomfortable, but I go, it's this, but I'm here, I'm just going to breathe into it. If it's too uncomfortable, maybe I'll give it 3 breaths and then I'll go and get on with my day or my distraction, or I may then build that up so I can sit with it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. So that part of my makeup, the disturbance, which is usually from the past, it becomes familiar with somebody listening to this, listening and hearing and accepting, which will have been missing in my childhood. There were always times when we missed out.
Okay.
So I reassure that part of me by the adult in me now. I couldn't do this for myself as a child because I was a child. I looked to my caregivers for it, and they were sometimes too busy.
Yeah.
Simple as that. It's
life.
It's life. Yeah. But in as much as that affected me, and I couldn't deal with it then and feel it, so I learnt to play the games to not feel it. Now, as an adult, I can choose to stop playing those games, so I can turn off my phone, not open the bottle of whiskey, not go to the nightclub or move to another country. I can just go, no, I'm now, as an adult, I'm going to sit with this feeling and be present. And by practicing this again and again and again, that part of me, the wounded part of me, starts to relax because he knows somebody is there. He's not going to be abandoned. And so the trust builds then, my trust, and it's not just trust in myself. I then feel trusting of the community, of the world, of the universe, of other people. My trust isn't in other people. I can walk into a situation where I feel comfortable, even though I know these people are going to let me down, because I know when they let me down, yes, it's going to hurt, but yes, I can work with it. I can be with it. It's okay. I'm here. I'm able to be here. Until I practiced this, I wasn't.
Yes.
It was not possible to be here because as soon as I felt strong emotion, I would go, I'd get in my truck and drive, or I would throw myself off a cliff with a paraglider, or I'd go diving, or anything but feel, anything but stay and be with it. So the trust is about ourselves. And it's a different for children. For children, they do look to others for trust, and that is appropriate because they're learning. Yes. And they learn trust about how the people around them react. But as an adult, actually, I have to learn I have to learn to trust myself, which comes with practice. It's not a one-time thing. There's not one trick. It's a practice that I continue to do every day. It's like I check in.
So would you say the polarity of somebody who's living their life but never trusts anyone and sees the worst possible situation and is expecting to be let down or hurt or abandoned, and then you've got the other side where there's this like you trust absolutely everything and you're continually open and then it crashes but you never see, it doesn't even cross your mind to not trust. You're just continually like this, but then like you say, it crashes. That's the same. It's a polarity, but it comes from the same place.
It comes from the same place, but in the second one, what's happening there is mystification. So that overwhelming trust will have been learned. It's what we do with our parents when we're born. We put them on a pedestal. They are the best parents ever in the world that there's ever been, ever. And if somebody challenges that, we'll fight them for it.
Yes, yeah.
And then they do something wrong, or we get to teen years and they're just, can't bear to be with all their ideas are stupid and they're so stupid. And you have that. So they're either on the pedestal or they're in the ditch.
Okay.
Top, bottom. Yeah. But then we don't see them as the human beings that they are, which is somewhere in between, like all of us. Yeah. None of us are perfect, none of us are angels, none of us are the devil. We're somewhere in between. Yes. But we can't see our parents like that as children, especially if things are difficult in the home. Parents that are struggling more, or a dynamic between parents and children that struggle more, tends to push this further. You'll see kids where things are difficult at home, they more put their parents on a pedestal because they can't bear to see them as having faults, as being real, as being unable to cope in some ways. So that second form of the people fully just trust everybody and then crash. That's the on the pedestal and then in the ditch, and they will do it with themselves, and they'll do it with their partners, and they do it with everywhere they go. It mirrors. Yeah. Whereas where people that are generally not trusting, I find this interesting. I was watching. I was talking to a woman one day, in a group, and this woman was saying we need safe spaces for women and children. And she was really angry about it, and the hospitals for birthing. She was upset about all sorts of areas of life where she didn't feel this safe held space for women and children.
Yes.
And I was listening to her. I was thinking, quite right. But I know over time I've seen that safety that she needs in the outside world. She's so projecting that out. It's not there for herself.
For herself.
So in so many ways, this woman is not creating safety for herself or her children. In many little ways. Because it's the same thing. It's the mirror.
And she's searching for it in an outside, practical manner rather than
she's angry about it. It's a projection because it saves her from feeling, from dealing with that she doesn't feel capable of creating that kind of safety for herself.
Wow, it's huge, isn't it?
It's huge. Yeah, it can be. Yeah.
Margaret's actually just put up a comment.
Hi, Pete.
Hi, Peter. Thank you for joining us. Margaret's put up a comment saying, okay, obviously in answering that we said, put up a question. She's saying, I hate being controlled, ! Have you got any insights or anything that you can share with her?
So I think I may have talked, I don't know if you've seen other live streams, but we've talked in the past about the two deep wounds of abandonment and engulfment. And engulfment is about feeling controlled. So if you hate being controlled today, if you feel into your body, when you think about whatever that control is, how it permeates in your life today, whoever's doing that to you, feel into your body, and can you get a sense for where you feel it physically? Is it possible to get answers more or less
yes,
live,
it'll be a bit delayed. Yes.
So if you feel into your body and see where does it and how does it feel? And if you can allow that space to be there and just breathe into it. So allow the bodily feeling, see what it feels like when you're being controlled, and then see if there is a predominant emotion connected to that. There may be some fear, there may be some anger. See what's there for you.
I think there's quite a lot of women that feel the same. I know for me I can't stand being told what to do. If you tell me to do something, generally I'll want to do the opposite. It's just sort of such a quick response that's not even thought about. It's like, no! I'll do it my way.
What's the predominant? Can you feel into that now?
You're putting me on the spot again, aren't you?
You're here.
Okay. It's almost like a rage.
Yeah, so it's anger.
Oh, yeah. But no, it's more than anger. It's like, rage, really?
Right. Okay,
and I'm
so
not...
breathe into that. And how far back can you remember feeling that feeling? How far back can you remember feeling the sensation in the body, being controlled, raging against it?
Well, definitely as a teen. I don't have that many memories of childhood, like younger childhood, it's very few. So I would, if I wanted to touch on something, it would probably be in my teens.
And were you controlled in your teens?
Oh, they tried. Yes. Yeah. Always tried to sort of like suppress and...
So suppressing what? What did they suppress? And who?
Emotions, freedom.
And this is your parents?
Yes, yeah. Yeah. Everything had to be done their way.
Okay, and freedom to do what?
Things my way. And what I wanted, or...
You see, because if they were controlling your freedom to jump off a cliff and hurt yourself, I would say it was appropriate. So
yes, I'll accept that.
So I'm wondering in what ways did they control you that were not okay? When you look at it from an adult perspective rather than just I I want
a
my
raging hormonal teenager.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, I had this, or I still have this sort of like rebellious wild streak that doesn't want to just toe the line and do what I'm told. I want to explore, I want adventure, and I'm not afraid of the unknown. I'm not afraid to try things, but I think from their perspective that was probably terrifying, because they did exactly what was asked of them and stayed within the lane, within a traditional...
Can you remember when you were very little, when you first wanted to get out of their arms and run and crawl and ride a bike and go further up the street and climb trees, how were they with that? How did they respond to that?
They allowed that to a certain extent,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I was allowed to, I was going to say hurt myself, but I was allowed to have that, but not really go for it. It was always kept sort of tame.
Okay, so it was the exuberance.
Yes,
that wasn't,
that's it, yes.
So your natural childhood exuberance and life energy was not accepted, or was it punished? Was it frowned upon? How would they...
I think frowned upon. And that's the worst thing, because you think you've done something wrong when you were just...
So did you experience that as a withdrawal of love?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's a pretty heavy price to pay, isn't it?
It is a bit,
for being yourself.
Yeah.
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 So can you feel when you connect with that rage, does that connect with that your parents weren't able to accept your exuberance, your joy of wanting to explore the world when you were little, that they withdrew their love and frowned on it? Or how is that for you? If you think about that, is that okay? Or does that connect with your rage?
I think it's okay. I think, I don't know, I'm getting my sort of everything all a bit fuzzy and confused now. But
to come back into the body,
yeah,
the body will tell you. The head will confuse.
The head's going, oh no!
Yeah.
He's working his magic again. Okay. Okay, the rage is there. It's the freedom to not be me. Or that's what it felt like. I wasn't allowed to, like you say, I wasn't allowed to have that exuberance or that emotion or that I didn't really have fear in that sense. And I think they wanted to keep me safe and tame and have a good little girl.
So if we don't worry about what they wanted, but saw it from you, how did that feel? That they didn't celebrate you as you were?
Oh, that I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was that okay? Is that all right?
No. No. No, so...
But that's what we talk about sitting with. To actually take time to go, okay, this upset belongs there, and to go there and to bring her in.
Yeah.
So
Margaret's put anything up yet.
We have. When we feel these strong emotions, they are strong emotions that are frozen in time, if you like, from when the trauma happened.
Yeah.
And so to meet that part of us that was, how old would you have been can you remember how old you were when you started to really want to express yourself in that way and it wasn't met with...
Probably sort of 12-ish, 13-ish, I was really beginning
to be able to sit your 12-year-old on your lap, you have a cushion, and just picture giving her time and space.
Yeah.
And that's all you're doing actually, is giving her space and going... I'm not answering the phone, I'm not doing anything else, I've got time for you, I have got time for you. In that your parents didn't have time for that part of you, did they?
No.
Whatever worries it brought up for them, they didn't have time for it. You know, a classic, my mum did not have time to take me to hospital. She would complain all the way there if I hurt myself badly. I remember it. So it kind of,
Yes.
a little bit of a trauma for me. It's like,
Yes,
I didn't have time for me.
I can imagine.
So they didn't have time, but you can have, as an adult now, you can remind yourself, I'm an adult, I have resources now that I didn't have then, and I will take time to parent this part of
me.
This frozen 12-year-old emotion. And in doing this, we heal.
Yeah.
But we don't just get to heal, we also get to know ourselves.
Yes. Now, I'm not going to deflect from me.
Yes.
But Margaret is with us. She's still with us.
Great.
She was saying she was feeling it in the stomach. And also below that, she's also saying, thanks, Sally, that was me. So Margaret, was that the inner rebel, or what I've just shared, was that similar to something that resonates with you? Do come into the comments. I am keeping an eye on it while Adrian's putting me through.
As you saw there, the process is, Margaret, to feel into your body, where you feel it in the body is useful, because the body brings us right into the now, into the actual experience. And from there, we can access the emotion that's connected with that. And that emotion and the feeling in the body can lead us back to where it was that the trauma comes from, or where we stored that feeling from. Sometimes it doesn't, and it doesn't matter. The analysing this is not so important. But there's other ways we can go with that. When we feel something strong like that rage, we can ask, if it had a voice, what would it say? And we get the statement of that rage, which might be,
let me be me.
Yeah.
Just let me do it.
Yeah.
So,
and then the other side of that is we can work backwards with this. So we start with the trigger. I'm triggered. So what do I feel? But also I can then look at, when I have a strong feeling reaction, it will push for sure the want to do something, and that doing something is the avoidance. So I will want to do pretty much anything but sit with it. So I'll want to go on social media, I want to turn on Netflix, or get in a car and drive somewhere, or start blaming somebody, or complaining, anything outside of myself, anything but feel.
Yeah. And
this practice is learning to take the time to feel and to explore our feelings, so that this is loving ourselves.
Yeah.
Really getting to know. It's not about loving all the best bits, it's about loving the whole caboodle. And in this way, we come to a place where we can find nurturing relationships with people that want to be with all of us, with the whole package.
Every part of us.
Yeah. Because so long as I'm not dealing with the difficult stuff and pushing it into the corner, it's still with me, but I won't show it to a new partner until maybe 6 months or 2 years down the line, and then you're into difficulties with your relationship because you've started down a road with somebody that maybe doesn't want to deal with the shadows.
Yes, yeah.
It's not about pushing the shadows on them, but it's about dealing with them yourself.
Margaret's saying that she was always a rebel. Always a rebel, and she's saying thank you.
You're very welcome.
I think there's a lot, this is maybe taking the stream away, but there's a lot of women who do have this inner rebellion or strength or rage, because society, we're not taking it into sort of relationships, but society in general hasn't seen or heard us.
Absolutely.
And it's not an individual's fault, or necessarily just the parents' fault or the caregivers. It's the whole setup of society. It's like we've been put in our place.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I was talking to somebody the other day whose partner's due a baby soon. She was struggling with not being able to do so much because she's heavily pregnant. She's a doer. She has projects on, so she's feeling. And I said to him, but she's making a human being.
Yeah.
And that's like a colossal job. And he found that a surprising comment, because in the first world we've forgotten it, haven't we? It's not. There's no value on it. It's not. It's such an extraordinary gift to be able to create a human being, a skeleton, the organs, the brain, put that together, and birthing and taking care of. Not that that's just what women do, but it's an immense power that's been sidelined and dropped away from.
And diminished and...
Yeah, there's so many ways in which women are controlled. And so I think, so the engulfment wound comes in very much there. And that's through umpteen generations as well. It goes way back. Yeah. And a lot of this feeling carries down. We can be infected by our parents and our grandparents' traumas. If you grow up with a neurotic parent, it's very easy to take on their neuroses.
So allowing ourselves to accept that it's not necessarily, I mean, I was going to say our fault that we feel a certain way or we have these certain patterns. I mean, the self-responsibility and self-awareness, but this is picked up unconsciously.
Absolutely. Yeah. But and of course, it's not anybody's fault. But this work is about taking responsibility for how I feel now. And that might mean going through a patch where I'm angry at my caregivers because I need to access the anger. But eventually I come to a place where forgiveness is not even necessary. I just don't feel that anymore because I've taken responsibility. This is my life. This is how I feel about it. And that's interesting because different people will go through the same circumstances, and for some it will be traumatic and for others it simply won't. So we pick up taking responsibility for how it was for me. That's where the power is. That's how I step towards my life energy and my creativity and living my whole life, rather than living half a life that's not wanting to feel these awkward bits inside and trying to present myself to the outside world in a certain way that I've been taught will gain me more appreciation or
trying to numb
less punishment. Working with this allows me to live a full life.
And that's what we're here to do, isn't it?
I am, for certain.
We've got to live this life to the full every single minute.
Yeah, really. But it's interesting because I used to think I was living my life to the full 25 years ago.
Oh, when you were enjoying all the adrenaline,
non-stop doing stuff. But I look back and I realised, I was actually massively busy, not having a moment to feel anything really inside.
I think for me, I want, especially as you know, we lost a friend last week, and it really brings home the fragility and the beauty of life as well. And we are here to feel, to be, and to just live and experience. Even, the really difficult times, everything is part of this life. And it sounds like learning love, from what I'm learning from you in our chats and what I witness, is that it helps you to be in it, to really be in everything in life, the great stuff and the not so great stuff, ourselves and others, and that is a blessing.
And it's interesting you mentioned about your friend dying, because for me, this is definitely preparation for my death. That's not all it is, but to learn how to live skillfully, and this is a skillful way of living for me, because I get the most out of life, is to learn how to live, is to learn how to die well. And that's incredibly important. It's, again, an issue that we pretend doesn't exist in the Western world. Nobody talks about it. But to have an understanding of oneself, what I am and what I'm not, when it comes to my deathbed, oh my God, I want to be there. And I witnessed my sister's death, and one of the strongest things that came to me there was that everything I do in my life, every thought I have, every emotion I feel, every decision I make, is all simply preparation for that moment, that through. And but I'm enjoying the journey. I enjoy living like this.
It's not like we're going to be living like saints and floating through and and being all wafty. It's actually about being completely beautifully present and aware and allowing.
And that brings us back to when I started. I was saying,
Hi,
loving
Kelly,
oneself
Natalie.
is a practical. For me, it's a practice.
Yes.
I practice coming inside. I check my body and work with that. And depending on what's happening, there may be other tools I can work with. I might go into a session. I might spend some time looking at one aspect or another over some weeks. But it's a practical way of living. Yeah. It's not a floaty concept.
No, definitely not. No. I love hearing you talk about it. I love hearing you talk about it.
Well, I love talking to you about it.
Yeah, and I do secretly enjoy you putting me on the spot somewhat. It's like free therapy, thank you very much.
So do we have any other questions?
Yes, let's see. I just want to say hello to Kelly. Hello, Kelly. And I think, is it Kaylee? I'm not sure how to pronounce your name.
Kaylee Joe.
Kaylee Joe, yes, yes.
Kaylee Joe, fantastic.
She's just saying, just got to keep sending hearts. I'm loving this. Oh, thank you so much. And Jo Beth Young is with us. She said, to die before you die, as Rumi says.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anybody's got a question, we've got time for maybe just one more. We've got quite a few people here, which is wonderful. So if anyone has got a question for Adrian, we're here for you. And even after we finish, if you feel like you want to ask something afterwards, just come and post in the live stream and we will get back to you.
I noticed today, I was talking to one of our workshop leaders for House of Light. Obviously, we're looking at the situation with COVID because they're due to bring a retreat here, and they're coming from England. Can they get here? Can they not? So we're having to look at whether they can run or not. And we were just talking about it, and it came to me that part of this work is seeing that the reality of my situation is within me.
Yes.
That's where I'm going to find it. So long as I'm looking outside, so long as I'm saying, well, they're, judging them, comparing with other people, blaming, complaining, putting it outside of myself, or saying, oh, I could be at peace if only she did the work. Or if the government were enlightened, everything would be fine.
Yes.
Whatever. So long as I'm pushing it out there, I am not serving myself really. Yeah. The truth for me is within, and this whole situation with the pandemic is interesting for me now because they're pushing the point that I think just about everybody's coming to the conclusion that there isn't any information outside of ourselves that's to be trusted. It doesn't matter which way you go. Even if you fully trust, say, the media, your neighbours, your friends and some of your family will be questioning that. And we're all having these conversations, and whatever you look at on social media or the news or you talk to people,
or even the other end of the spectrum as well.
Both ends of the spectrum. I talk to one person and I come away going, yeah, it's all a scam. And then I talk to someone else and go, yeah, but maybe we need to do this. But the truth that they're pushing for now is that actually it's the truth of this work is there isn't anything outside of me that's not an illusion if I'm not in touch with my truth. Yeah. So really, for us to know what's going on, it's what is happening for me. And then I can start to see, what's driving my thinking it's this way or that way? Is it fear or is it anger? Yeah. Is it joy or is it grief? And I can start to see these are the motivations for me, and they're old emotion from 50 years back. Yeah. So they're nothing to do with the pandemic that's happening now, as is most of the information I seem to be hearing. I mean, I really don't know. So I find it fascinating that we're in this situation where in full bright coloured advertisement boards all around us, it's showing where we will find our truth is inside.
It's here.
It's inside it, because so long as I'm projecting onto the outside world, I'm in an illusion. And I'm creating an illusion myself, and I'm feeding it, and I'm playing with it and I'm recreating illusions that I didn't like.
Yes, yeah.
But if I can sit back and go, what is this for me? That's my truth.
Yeah, a gift.
Yeah.
A gift.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have any questions. Let's say hello to Howard, who's just joined us.
Hi, Howard.
So, I think, thank you very much, Adrian.
Thank you, Sally. And thanks for all joining us. Very nice to see so many people join us.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah, really lovely.
Yeah.
And so I expect we'll join you again for another Learning Love session in a couple of weeks' time.
In a couple of weeks' time,
Like
yeah. This will obviously remain up on the news feed. And again, if anyone's got any questions, just ask us through Facebook or Instagram. And also this will go up onto our YouTube channel as well. Yeah.
And there's my contact details are on House of Light website. Feel free to write in questions, whatever you would like to know about. I love talking about this subject, as you can tell. And thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you all again very, very soon.